Good morning, everyone, and welcome in this series of tutorial video on a new tool to process your EEG data. I will talk about EEGpal, which is a new toolbox under Matlab to process your EEG data in an automatic or pseudo-automatic way. It offers a graphical interface to program your processing pipeline to apply to all your participants in row. These tools has been developed under Creative Commons license by Michel C, which is a scientific collaborator of the University of Lausanne, and myself, Michael Mouton, lab engineer at the University of Fribourg. EEGpal processing are based on two other EEG processing software. The first one is CARTOOL, developed by Denis Brunet at the University of Geneva. It offers a Windows graphical interface, very convenient to process and visualize data. However, it has as disadvantage to work more on a subject-by-subject way. The second main tool used is EEGLAB, which is a Matlab toolbox originally developed by Arnaud Delorme from the Schwartz Center for Computational Neuroscience. This toolbox is very famous and largely used by the scientific community. EEGpal will use several functions from it. However, its big disadvantage is that it requires Matlab coding when you want to program a EEG pipeline processing or to apply to several participants. The EEGpal graphical interface has been developed to overcome this problem. It allows to program your processing pipeline without writing a single line of code. Now let's see together how to install the software. Before to start, just in order that you know, the minimal requirements to run EEGpal is to have at least a Matlab 2018B, and the toolbox has been tested on Windows and Mac and work perfectly fine. It should work in Linux as well, but I haven't tested. So the first step that you have to do is to download the last version from GitHub at this following address. Download the last version either by connect with the GitHub, or you can directly download the code. When it's downloaded, you can unzip it. Let's explore the EEGpal folder. So you can find a subfolder called manual, where you will find all the manual in the PDF format to help you during the use of the program. In EEGLAB plugin, you have a full version of the EEGLAB available. And in the resource subfolder, you will have coordinate files for your EEG analysis. Now let's install it in Matlab. So EEGpal should be installed as any Matlab toolbox. So you go to set path on the upper corner. Very important. The first thing that you have to check that there is no other EEGLAB version which is map, because it will generate conflict. So if you have a previous EEGLAB version, you just remove it. Then you can press on the add folder and select the folder where you have unzipped your EEGpal and press on saved. That's it. To open EEGpal, you just have to enter the command EEGpal in the common windows of Matlab. You can ignore the warning message. Now it's time for me to present you the main EEGpal windows. This windows is divided in 7 subsections. The first section is the file selection, where you are going to specify which file has to be imported. The data table in the center lists all the current selected files for the next processing step. The section on the right permits to define a subselection in the table or to update information in the table. On the right, the tool section where you will find two functions to modify your data before to processing. There is the export tool, which permits to convert to another file format, and the file cut to remove some part of the signal. We will go more in detail over those tools in the next video. The processing module section, which permits to open sub-windows to define the parameter for process, clean, and prepare your data for the analysis. The analysis module section allows to open the sub-windows to analyze your data. The last section at the bottom of the center panel permits to save the parameter that you define in different module of EEGpal, and also to run automatically those modules in row by defining a batch job. We will cover this topic in another video. Preset parameter with a slider which offer two options between CARTOOL and EEGLAB. His impact is mainly to define the default recording formats as well as modify preset inside of the filtering and interpolation module. The consequence will be to have a processing more similar to CARTOOL or EEGLAB, but I will cover that in detail in the next video. At the top of each Windows, you have Help button, which will open the manual in PDF format. It will guide you to define your parameter of processing. Now it's time for me to give you an example how to import your EEG data into the main EEGpal interface. So first of all, you have to select the file format. So you have the choice between several file formats like BDF, which is the traditional biosemi format, EP and EPH, which are classical CARTOOL formats, which is basically record the data in text file. SEF, which is also a CARTOOL format, but recording the data in binary way. The SET classical format for EEGLAB, RIS for inverse solution, FREC for frequency analysis, and EEG format for brain vision data. If you need in the future that EEGpal manage another type of file format, just send an email to the authors and we will see if we can implement it. For our example now, we are going to import a dataset in set formats. Below, you have the possibility to specify string pattern inside of the file name, which permits to include or exclude. So for example, here I include all the files which have subpattern sub in their file name. Now to start the importations, click on Input folder and select the folder which contain your data. It will automatically fill the table with the file it detects. So the data table contains several columns which inform you about the file name, the path we give you the folder where he found it, the number of channel, the sampling rate of the recording, the number of time frames, so mean the number of time point which has been recorded in the file, the duration in minutes, seconds, and milliseconds, the subjects column to define to which subject belong this file, and finally, condition and factor level, its two columns will be useful in the statistical analysis, and we will see that in a later video. In the right column, I can exclude some subfolder inside of my input folder. So you see this trash folder that I can unselect it to remove it and remove the file inside of it. Now it's important to define to which subject belongs each file. To do that, we're going to specify the code of the first participant, which is in our case sub001. And when you define the code for the first participant, it automatically detects the code for the next files. It's important to note that the string pattern which define each participant must have the same number of characters and to be located at the same position in every file. After that, you can select or unselect some participants that you don't want to process. After you have import your file, you can save it in CSV file table just for your recording, but you can also save it in Matlab format, which allow to reload your selection the next time you open the program. This concludes this first tutorial video about the main interface of EEGpal, and during the next video we are going to see how to use the tool to modify your imported data.